There are two main questions that we typically need to address to understand how a combination product will be regulated. The first one is we need to know what is the lead component in a combination, meaning which of the components drives the primary intended effect. Likely, two of the components or more of them will contribute to the ultimate action, but one of them will be determined as being the primary component. For example, when you combine a drug with a syringe for administration, the drug drives the primary effect because it treats the patient, and the syringe supports the action of the drug by allowing its administration, for example. So in that case, you can determine a primary component. So this will help understanding what will be the primary framework we will fall into. Will it be primarily regulated as a drug or as a medical device, for example? The second question we need to be clear about is how the products are combined one with another. So we have the three types of styles of combination we can see with combination products, which are integral combinations, we have co-packaging, and we have cross-label. And depending on which scenario we are in, or multiple scenarios we are in, if we have more components than that, it will help understand and determine what regulatory assessment and route will be followed for each component. So really understanding how the product works as a starting point and how it will be presented will have an effect on the regulatory path forward. So it's important to understand or reflect early on in the development on how will I present things? Do I want to co-package something or cross-label it or do something else? Because it will have an impact on how the regulatory environment will apply for a given product. So the way you present your product, what you choose as an intended purpose, and the type of claims you make around it have an influence on what your lead component will be. Because the lead component will be determined based on how the primary action is supported. So I can take an example to illustrate that. If you have a dressing that you associate with a drug to protect some wounds and to help healing faster, depending on whether your primary action is meant to be protection of the wound, prevention of infections, or whether you're aiming primarily at improving the healing process, accelerating it, the primary component will not be the same in both of those cases. So the way you phrase your claims and the way you present your product for the users, for the patient, will have an impact on the regulatory route that you will be falling into. So it's something that you can also think of early on in your development on choosing the most appropriate path for your product based on the intended action.